Dave, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's always good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, not a problem at all. So, just tell me a little bit about your background in comedy. How did you get started?
Yeah, so I started when I was 8 years old, but then I didn't do anything for 12 years. And then when I was 18, I started kind of going to uni and met people who were comedians who invited me down to watch. And I remember watching the comedy and really getting a feeling like it was what I wanted to do. I'd always watched comedy back in that day. It wasn't like YouTube clips, it was VHS cassettes, and we would watch those, and you know, the whole family would be kind of enraptured by, you know, Billy Connolly or Ben Elton. And yeah, I became kind of aware of the power of comedy to communicate messages during that time and to kind of change people's minds a bit for the better. Can
you tell me a bit about what you've learned as a comedian over the years? I mean, obviously your first gig would be very, very different to some of the gigs you might do now.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you've learned over your journey?
I've learned to be okay with everything, like to be really kind of chilled out about venues, about kind of audiences, about pressure, about things like that. Like, the more you relax, the easier it is for you to communicate what you need to say and what you want to do, and to hit your marks, your routines, make them as strong as possible. So I guess if I was talking to myself, you know, when I started first, from this point of view, I'd say just, you know, don't worry about anything. Don't get nervous, don't get anxious, just, you know, we look back after a few years at the gigs that were hard and we hate them at the time. Like at the time we're like, that was the worst experience. You know, I guess the experience is I died in my arse, the expression is. But you look back, like, and you look at those gigs and you went, after a while, those are the ones that made me who I am today. Like falling over, doing hard, we embrace them after a while. We go, they were the building blocks to success. And I think that's translatable to all areas of life. I sound really negative, by the way, but it's an amazing thing to do. It's really good fun all of the time.
Yeah.
But so there's those kind of like, those what seemed like stumbles at the time are actually kind of like climbing up a level.
So being the director of the Comedy Zone, tell me a bit about your role. What's that like?
So basically I come in at the beginning of the first week of the festival ahead of Thursday night's opening and meet with the 5 acts and yeah, just chat through overview of the festival, overview of what they need to be doing, encourage them to do their tightest 10 minutes, their best 10, to showcase themselves as well as perform in a showcase. So I listen to the material, we kind of talk through options and appropriateness in some cases of material, and yeah, we go from there. We kind of like tease it out. I give them exercises, try and get them to look at their material from new angles, find out where there might be some extra gags, and help them as well with you know, kind of like transitions and things like that. Every year, I've done this 3 times, and every year it's amazing how it's getting easier, and that's because the standard is increasing. Like people are hitting the ground running these days much more compared to the old kind of casts of yesteryear. So each year I notice incrementally a massive improvement, and I put it down to a few things. I think the prevalence of kind of material available online, like YouTube and so on, and Netflix specials, so people are aware of more comedy, and they're also just more passionate and stronger and kind of, I feel, ambitious. So all those things kind of rise the tide a bit.
What goes into you deciding the structure of the whole show, I suppose, from beginning to end? Yeah,
so the festival and I work quite closely on kind of creating the lineup that's going to work. And again, you know, it's a lot like a microcosm of a comedy routine, in that with a comedy routine you start with something that's warm, friendly, and kind of not too left of field, and you end with something that's really powerful and got kind of color and movement and lots of energy as well. So, and in between you can kind of put, if it's a routine, you can put those kind of strange left of field types of routines, or something that's a bit more storytelling based. So that we do that with the show. I mean, we start with someone warm, friendly, inviting. Obviously we have an MC who's going to fulfill that role, and then we can go into acts themselves that are a bit left of field or more storytelling. and finish with somebody punchy. So in this case, it was all killer, no filler, so it was an easy kind of lineup to put together. I could have basically thrown names at a table, and I'm sure any lineup would have been amazing. But we've tweaked it to have the best audience experience, I think. Yeah.
So I guess a tricky question is, what typically happens after people finish the Comedy Zone? Yeah. Yeah,
right. So, for example, you might be aware of the name Ronnie Cheng, yeah. So possibly the Today Show with Trevor Noah after after Comedy Zone. Hannah Gadsby has got a Netflix special now. She was another Raw alumni. So yeah, it's a great kind of springboard and a great platform for young Aussie up-and-coming comedians, and an opportunity to be part of the festival without putting yourself out there completely, without being on your own, having to pay regio, marketing costs, putting posters up and so on. They do still have to flyer, but everything else is kind of in a bubble for them. So it's a great opportunity for them to learn the ropes of doing a comedy festival excuse me, show without too much of the risk and without too much of the kind of the heartbreak and demoralizing that can come with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, they got 4 other people to have at their back, and a slightly less intense experience.
I mean, for you personally, what would be the best thing about directing a program like this? What's the thing you look forward to the most?
Oh, just seeing people grow is definitely the main benefit and the main kind of joy for me. Like just seeing somebody already, like I said, hitting the ground running and fully formed and with a very strong routine, seeing them go through the journey of the festival, because it's a total journey. I mean, this festival will throw everything at you, and again, I'm not speaking negatively, but you do have really hard times. Like I told them on day one, there will be a night during the season, each of you, it'll be different, but you'll have a night where you feel like you're wanting to give up. You'll feel like your set that night was the worst you've ever done. You'll feel like you're not good enough to be here. And I said that you got to embrace that. That's part of doing this. That's part of the journey of the festival. And I guess, the hero's journey for each of the guys and girls who do Comedy Zone. So they've got to embrace that and understand that that's temporary. They'll have another night where it's just the best they've ever done, and they feel on top of the world. They're like, I'm the greatest comedian in this festival. And I said, just don't believe either of those things. Like, don't believe, the high, and don't believe the massive low. And just keep in mind, you've got to be in the middle.
And how would you say comedians can possibly develop their style? Because I suppose everybody has their own sort of thing, what they find funny and what they want to explore. Do you have any tips on exploring that? Yeah,
definitely. I would say stick to your voice. I mean, I would cite Sam Simmons as an example of somebody who stuck to their voice, and their audience found them. Find people who are like you and even collaborate with them, or just experience that strength and solidarity that you get from somebody who's on the same path. Yeah. Because we're all here to help each other. I mean, the rising tide rises all boats. Like, a lot of comedians are a bit competitive, but ultimately, I think it was Adam Hills, I think he said, it's not a race, it's a dance. Yeah. So that stuck with me. Do the best you can, like develop yourself as much as you can. If it's meant to happen, this is where you'll end up, yeah. And you can make it, make yourself more kind of visible by just introducing yourself to the comedy festival and the people who work there, who work on this as well. But ultimately, all you can do is keep striving to refine what you do, and keep striving to kind of like get out of your comfort zone, try new things, try new rooms, try new material, keep writing, keep watching, and keep going. Yeah.
Right. Great. Yeah, that's some solid advice. Thanks so much for your time, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's been fun chatting.
Yeah, likewise.